Gonzaga Nation SI rolls on as we prepare for WCC week. But before we get to that, we have a weird scheduled game. Co host Adam Morrison and myself are here to break it down on all the social media platforms: YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, whatever the heck else is out there. I'm guessing TikTok and Facebook. Adam, am I missing anything?
I think you covered them.
I know I'm not on all of them, that's for sure. But let's get right into one of the weirdest scheduling games that I can remember in recent memory. And it's weird because you come back off of Christmas break and COVID is going crazy throughout the country. So as of now, this game is still on, but games are being canceled left and right. Um, what is the first practice like when you come back from Christmas break?
Uh, I think it can be a little bit rusty. I think most guys try to get in the gym at least once when they go back home just to keep their wind. But I think I remember most of those practices being like really trudgy and just kind of, lacking rhythm. And then there were a lot of running. I mean, as simple as that, because you want to get guys wind back up. So yeah, it's something that, you're personally responsible for your own condition, obviously, when you go back home, and some guys take that serious and some don't. So I think as a coaching staff, you kind of have to get a practice in where you're running a lot.
Keeping on the topic of conditioning and keeping your game right, what was your own routine to stay ready during kind of a couple day breaks like a Thanksgiving, couple day breaks like a Christmas? Because when the ball's always in your hand and you take a couple day break away from a team, if you lose your rhythm, the team loses their rhythm. What was your kind of personal philosophy of routine and how to stay sharp?
I think I just would go to my high school gym and just get some shots up. So it would usually be a 30 minute to an hour workout, something simple, and I think it was just basically to get a sweat. Like you said, to keep the rhythm. Now, if you completely don't do anything for 3-4 days, as obviously, we were good basketball players, but you lose that sharpness pretty quick. And so I just tried to go in and make sure that I kept, the feel the same. And, like I said, make sure you get a sweat just so that wind doesn't leave.
Do you have a teammate that you remember looking at in the first practice, like, you didn't do anything over break?
I think Earl Knight was a not do very much type of guy. He was such a fantastic athlete, but I think he kind of vegged out a little bit during those breaks. We come back, there'd be a lot of dribbling off his leg or off his knee for half a practice, and then it finally came back. But there were some guys you could tell, like, all right, he might have put on 10 pounds in 4 days. Awesome, So you never know. But most guys, understand the responsibility of staying sharp.
I think I don't know if the story I'm about to share with you've ever heard, whether from me or maybe from Tommy Lloyd. But Tommy, who's now the head coach at Arizona, was so instrumental in recruiting European guys.
Mm-hmm.
And my senior year, Roni Turioff was a freshman. And everybody who knows Roni knows how much he values family and his home island of Martinique. And he was homesick like crazy. Well, they allowed him to go home to Martinique for like 3.5, 4 days before Christmas. The rest of the team, we met in Spokane before we flew for an East Coast trip and played Monmouth in New Jersey and St. Joe's on New Year's Eve. But the deal was Roni was going to meet us at Newark Airport before we played Monmouth. And when Roni left, people were worried that he was never coming back.
Yeah.
And I remember specifically, we're sitting on the bus as a team outside the Newark Airport in baggage claim, and Tommy was going frantic, back from bus to baggage claim, bus to baggage, because this was before cell phones like text where the heck you at.
Yeah.
You could track people on Snapchat and all these things. That's kind of one of my funny, unique stories in regards to guys going home for Christmas break.
Yeah, he was a prime candidate to say, screw it, I'm just going to go play professionally over in France. What's this Gonzaga thing all about? Because he, obviously I played with him as well. And it was lucky enough, I think one Christmas he had his sister and his mom come, and that was, really special to him because he's really big into family. But yeah, like that was a 50-50 coin flip that he was not going to come back and play.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, because Roney kind of transcended a lot of eras. My era when he was a freshman, he was phenomenal with your group. And then he really kind of spearheaded and allowed European guys to see that if
Yeah.
you go to Gonzaga, you have the ability to have success and get to the NBA.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He was one of the, the pioneers for the bigs, especially, and then the European route, no doubt. He, like you said, he fits in every single era too of Gonzaga basketball. Rim protector, back to the basket scorer. He could shoot like a 15 to 18 footer. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like, if you think of guys that could play in every era, of the good eras, it's like, oh, Roney's definitely one of them that could still like fit and, make sense, and kind of how Gonzaga runs things from, like the bigs perspective.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to North Alabama. This is a weird game. Tuesday, December 28th. Normal tip time for Gonzaga is typically 6. Occasionally you get an 8 p.m. game. This one's at 2 p.m. What the heck is going on with the scheduling on this one from what you can see?
I think maybe Huey wanted to get another time, like we played the Phoenix game at Texas Tech. We played at 11. I think maybe it's for, in March when you might get a 2 p.m., a 3 p.m. or 11 a.m. type game. So that's my only thought process on that. Maybe there's a scheduling deal with North Alabama flying out maybe that night, because some of those universities like to save money, obviously, with an extra stay in a hotel. But I think it's got to be preparing your team, your group for a day of, okay, here's an early shoot around, or, because like the 11 a.m., you can only have team breakfast. You can't really have a shoot around unless you're nuts. This one, you can have a breakfast, and then you can probably have a shoot around at 11, something like that, 10:30, 11. So I think it's for preparing for March.
Yeah, I would imagine it is preparing for March because I remember it would have been my junior year. I think we had the first game of the day on CBS in Memphis. It was like a 11 a.m. Central tip. So that's like 9 o'clock Spokane time. What is a typical shoot around like? You've been a part of college shoot arounds, NBA shoot arounds. Those are two completely different beasts. I mean, we could talk for hours on good and bad shoot arounds at the NBA level, but give us what a Gonzaga shoot around typically entails, because you and I both still go to some occasionally.
Yeah, I think it's mainly they last about an hour max, maybe a little bit over that, but you kind of go there, you get your starters, and then you get your scout team guys, and you just kind of walk through what they do. Usually you shoot before the walkthrough aspect, so maybe you get a 15-20 minutes of, you get a little sweat, maybe you don't go too hard, but you get your legs moving. I think there's a lot of good science behind, getting the blood flowing, not just laying around all day. But it's really good for scouting purposes, obviously, walking through their plays, their actions, and then what you're going to run against them and stuff like that. So I think Huey's always done a good job of being very concise with what they want to have happen, showing the players, but then also getting them off the floor. We've been in some long shoot arounds, and I think you can take guys' legs away later in that night. And I think that's a true deal. So I think it's right around a crisp hour where you get shots up, you get a sweat, you go over what you want to run and get off the floor. It's nice.
How about North Alabama? Obviously, they're coming in from the Atlantic Sun, and I think it's only their 4th year at Division I. Have you started your prep for them? And if so, what do you see? If not, why schedule a team from the A-Sun at this point?
Well, I think that they are a perimeter-oriented team that shoots, a bunch of threes. So that's similar to what you're going to see in the WCC. You're going to see smaller bigs that can step out and run different type of position or positionless basketball. So I think that's what Coach Few is trying to maybe show these guys before, because the scout will be similar to what a WCC team will be with, 4-round one, maybe even 5-round one. Every guy can pick and pop, that type of action. They're 7-5. They look pretty good. Like I said, for being a team that's transitioning, still, new to Division I basketball. So I think the schedule, the time, and then the personnel of this game is perfect going into WCC play.
I would agree. I think after looking at those factors you mentioned, this game makes more sense than if you just have a quick glance at the calendar.
Yep.
So, big thing is WCC plays right around the corner. Our next episode, we're going to break a little bit down about the upcoming opponents, USD and LMU. So, Adam, appreciate you joining. Follow us again on all the major social media platforms. For Adam Morrison, I'm Dan Dickau. This is Gonzaga Nation SI.